everyone, Zoe here. So for today's video and 5 mistakes, it's actually a massive heatwave here in the UK. As you can probably see all around me, every single flying insect wants a piece of me, and I've already been bitten by several mosquitoes. So my intro to you guys introducing the concept of this is probably going to be a short one. I hope you can understand why. So long story short, this is actually a repeat of something I've done previously, but I never filmed it for the channel. If you're a follower on the 5 Mistakes Twitter feed or Facebook page, you've probably seen this, but you won't have seen me actually film it for the channel. See what I mean about flying insects? So, long story short, for an ex-boyfriend's Christmas present, I made him a survival crossbow. He wanted the crossbow for target shooting, so I got him a crossbow with a scope. And me, being the survival girl, I couldn't just let it end there. So I had to get him a crossbow that fired bolts, that fired flechettes, that fired BBs. I put a foregrip on the front to change the weight distribution. I added a laser, a flashlight, and a scope. It pays to be in a relationship with me because I give amazing Christmas presents. And just to make transport a bit easier, I added a sling. And this sling could accommodate 12 gauge shotgun shells. In fact, I've got it right here. And seeing as I was going to put some shotgun shells on it anyway, I decided why not introduce some survival supplies. So all I went out and did was purchase some empty 12 gauge shotgun shells. This is what you're looking for, and I was just buying these online or finding them, but the important things are to look that the shot has actually been used and the prime has been struck. And in today's video on 5 Mistakes, we're going to look at making our own shotgun shell survival kit using these empty hulls and getting really inventive about what we can introduce into these and the different carrying options we have for this survival kit. So, let's see what we can make. So, I've done a bit of a tactical withdrawal, aka ran away from all the mosquitoes. And since this is already kind of a prepper focused video, we can do this on any random day when it's raining like it is today, in the comfort and safety of our own homes. So the rest of this video, we're going to be at my workbench. Now I've already mentioned our shotgun shells. I've just gone for red, but you can get them in any colour under the sun. I've gone for red because 25 years of video gaming has told me shotgun shells should be red. We're also going to be using an adhesive to secure our items in our shotgun shells. That could be epoxy, like this Gorilla epoxy, or it could be these 8mm hot glue gun sticks. These are just from a craft shop. And if you were going to do this just out in the woods, around the campfire one night, pine pitch resin might be your only option. Now I'm not going to sit here and show you 50 things we could put inside shotgun shells to make a shotgun shell survival kit, because my ideas are probably going to be very different from your ideas. Yours might be different depending on your geography, your personal preference, your skill level. So there's no point me sitting here and taking 2 hours of your time showing you every single thing I'm going to be putting inside mine. Instead, I'm going to be showing you the methods we're going to be using to put these inside. And I've called them the 4 Ps. So for our first P, we're going to be looking at plugged. In this case, I've got some cotton and petroleum jelly inside one of these shotgun shells. What I'm going to be doing is sealing the end of it. But for my first plug, I'm just going to use either a wax crayon or wax birthday candle. I've got some of the same colour as my shotgun shell. Obviously, they don't need to be the same colour. I just find it makes them a bit nicer finish. And all I'm going to do is drop wax on top of it. Now what we could do, we could take that crayon and basically scratch it up and put it directly onto our shotgun shell and then heat it up, but I find the edges of the shotgun shell tend to crimple a little bit, so I try and do it this way by dripping wax onto it and just filling in the gaps as we go around. It only takes a minute, as you can see, and it's quite a nice little process to do. So one of the issues we've got with sealing our plug with wax is that we have to reseal it again afterwards. Say we only used half of our fire tinder in this case, then we'd have to remelt that wax, and while that's a possibility because it is a fire starting option, it's probably not a very realistic one, because if this was a pocket saw or a fishing kit or a sharpening stone, then we'd have to make a fire just to reheat our container. So one of the other options we got are temporary plugs. In this case, I just love this noise this makes. This shotgun shell from side to side is 18mm across. and this is the PVC end cap, which is 19mm across. This is actually similar packaging to Affinity Outdoors' Baddest fire fuses, and I accidentally realised that they fit in shotgun shells quite nicely. So if you want a resealable option, I find it's best just put your finger in it and then pop it into your shotgun shell. And it's best to have a bit of wiggle room because it can be quite difficult to get out if you don't give yourself something to grip hold of. I just love the noise it makes when they come out. So there you go. There's another temporary option that we can use to put things inside our shotgun shells with our plugging method. That means we can get to them again without having to destroy a wax seal. Now for our second P, we're going to be talking about protruding. That's when an item's inside our shotgun shell, but it actually protrudes out of the cartridge. This can be slightly useful for carrying slightly larger items or something we're going to be using more frequently. Now it will affect some of our carrying options, but we'll talk about that later. Now if you're into survival or bushcraft, you're probably used to the Mini Big. It's a well-known lighter, it's used very often, but I want to choose a different brand you might not have heard of. It's the Clipper branded lighter. And I really like these because they fit really easily into these shotgun shells. And this is our first example of a protruding item. So all I've got to do is push it in the shotgun shell, apply some pressure just to make it go the rest of the way, and there we go. Simple as that. It's a really easy fit and finish, and then we have a protruding fire starting option. For our second protruding example, we're really looking at another fire starting option. In this case we're using this rather large 5-inch ferro rod. And as you can see, when I put it into the empty shotgun cartridge, it protrudes quite a lot, and it has quite a lot of weight to it, so we're going to need quite a strong bond between the base of the shotgun cartridge and the rest of the ferro rod. So I'm going to be using that Gorilla adhesive we saw earlier. We're just going to let that dry, and then we're going to come and just top it off, make it look a bit more appealing. So we're halfway through our 4 Ps right now. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what we've done so far. So we've got this temporary PVC stopper on this one, which in this case is 12 feet of nano paracord. We've got our wax sealed one, which is our fire tinder. We've got our ferro rod, which is a protruding item, alongside our other fire starting option, which is a protruding clipper lighter. And I didn't show you on camera, but I did mention it about cutting down shells. You see how this one is a lot shorter than the one beside it? That's because I'm going to be using this Acme naval whistle, and obviously the air holes need to be unobstructed for it to function as a whistle. And if I didn't trim down the shell, then it would be concealed and wouldn't work properly. I'm just going to secure that with a bit of glue on the inside, and that's another protruding option. So our third P option is for pre-made items. Now in this case, with hunting enthusiasts and companies aimed at airsofting and outdoors type people, a lot of them are embracing gimmicks to make their products stand out a little bit more on the market. And a lot of them come mass produced and look like shotgun shells. Now sometimes you have to do a lot of looking online to find these, but they can be useful. And because they're so cheap, it's just a better financial option than me trying to make these myself. So here we've got a small flashlight which twist on and twist off. It was the highest number of lumens that I could find that actually projected out the front of the shell. And then we've also got a cheap Jack Pyre branded folding knife. Now one of the followers on the Survival Mistakes Facebook page actually said they cut their hand open really badly with one of these, because it doesn't have a lock to it, so it isn't the most stable blade in the world. It's stainless steel, and I'll probably modify it just to grind away on this side just so I can get to it with either of my hands. But while it wouldn't be my number one choice, it's a nice little backup option. It weighs next to nothing, and it can be used for all sorts of outdoor tasks, and a striker for our ferro rod. So our fourth P option is looking at the plethora of online pre-made items that resemble shotgun shells. So for our final of the 4 Ps, we're really looking at perm, flush. I couldn't think of a 4th P. A friend of mine did suggest perfectly flushed, but I'd already dedicated myself to the joke by that point. And that's when we're looking at something that is flush with our shotgun cartridge. It doesn't sit inside it, it doesn't extrude out of it. I tend to use this more or less exclusively for compasses, as something we can quickly reference for after to disassemble it, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. And I'm going to be using the hot glue gun sticks for this example, because that's what I used predominantly when I did the ex-boyfriend's version of this. So I'll show you how to use those glue gun sticks, and we'll add a compass in our 4th P, Perm Flush. We need to get one of these glue sticks, and we're going to be trimming it for size eventually, but what we want to do is get a nice solid firm fixture. So I'm just going to melt the end of this. Now obviously if you had a hot glue gun you could just fill it full of the glue that way. I don't, and be very careful because these things are ridiculously hot. I'm going to put that down into the centre as much as we can and apply a bit of pressure. Then when it comes to all the upper edges, we're going to take our hot glue stick and start cutting it up into sections. And the idea is we do exactly the same thing. You melt the ends. Be careful not to completely set them alight. And then we squeeze them in. Now we've got our completely full shotgun shell, we're just going to trim off all this excess. I find using a hacksaw is the best. As you can see, we're almost flush with the top, and all we do is apply a little bit more heat. And there we go. All we've done is shoved it full of glue sticks, trimmed off the top, and if you want a better finish you can come along with a razor or something like that and retrim. And then I'm just going to apply one bit of final heat, and we're going to stick this compass onto the top. So now I've shown you the 4 Ps, we can talk about some of the different ways we can store and use these shotgun shell tools. Now they are quite limiting because of the size. The size of shotgun shells mean we can only keep so many things inside them, so it's not going to be the best kit in the world. And there's always going to be the limitation of shelter and water carrying devices. They're quite hard to fit into shotgun shells. But when it comes to portability, you know, I've already shown you the first time I did this, I did it with a gunsling. If you're not using one of those paracord gunslings, you could do this for one of your guns. Or in my case, I've got one of these cheap airsofting shotgun cartridge belts. I don't actually like to wear it around the waist, I prefer to wear it over one shoulder. But it's basically the same thing as that gunsling idea, but it means that I can carry these without needing to have it attached to a gun. And I find it's just a lot easier to get my items in and out by doing it this way. Now, obviously you don't have to use a belt. I've looked at loads of different options online. I'm going to flash up some images from the internet for you. As long as you don't have too many protruding items, they can limit some of the things you can use. If you're looking at leather gun belts, for example, you'll find that they're usually stitched at the bottom. So you can only put it in one way and take it out one way. It means you can't have something protruding like this ferro rod. Also, there's lots of kits available for molly vests. So if you want to make a tactical version and stick it on your molly vest, there's loads of little containers and shotgun shell caddies, and that could be an option for you. As long as you don't have too many protruding options. And I've also looked at, you can't just get belts just for your waist or just for your chest. I've seen forearm ones. Obviously we can talk about side saddle stocks for shotguns, but the one I like the most, and I wish I could have one for this video, is shotgun cartridge vests. So if you're going out there hunting, you can carry 20 or 30 shotgun cartridges on you, and I'd love to get one for this video and replace all of them with one of these tools. Now, don't get me wrong, this kit isn't going to replace your bug out bag. It's far too limiting for that. That's not what its intention is. It's just an interesting idea for carrying additional tools on your person that you may not have thought about. But like any small kit, it has its limitations, and the major ones for those are water carrying devices and shelter building options. Some of those tend to be the heaviest things in our kits, but also some of the largest things in our kits. But I have created some options for doing that on this kit. This canteen is an interesting design just because it has a chain that links the body to the lid. So all I've done is just thread that onto my belt, and that gives me a water carrying option. Now, it is relatively heavy, so it isn't the best idea. And as I was saying, it does have limitations because if it doesn't fit into a 12 gauge shotgun shell, then how can we carry things? Well, here I've got one of those grabber all-weather space blankets and a roll of plastic on the inside. And all I've done to secure that, if you look at how these are made, we've got an elastic loop at the front, which is just stitched onto a canvas belt at the back. So all I've done is come along and unstitched 5 of these to get this really stretchy piece of elastic, which I can then use to put my shelter options in. Now, because of the weight of this shelter, I could really do with doing an additional strap across the bottom just to secure it, or instead of doing 5 of these, I probably could have got away with just undoing 4 of them. But it gives us an option for turning this shotgun carrying kit into one that also carries a water carrying device and a shelter building option. So just to quickly go through the stuff that you've not seen on this belt already when I was doing the 4 Ps. So we have a small roll of Gorilla Tape that's really tightly bound on itself. We have if you remember, we've got a wire saw as our major wood cutting option. You've already seen it, but I'm going to show you it again. We've got our Jack Pyre knife, and as you see I've just come along and used the angle grinder just to make it a bit easier to get the blade out. Then we have a small fishing kit. We've got our pre-made flashlight, just using one of those vinyl covers as a way to protect the lens. We have a Phillips headed screwdriver that we can take out, flip over to turn into a flathead screwdriver. We've got a sharpening stone as our blade maintenance option. You already saw it on camera, but we've got a button compass. And then because I started running out of ideas, we've got a USB stick. We've got our signalling device of a whistle. And then finally, we've got this. It was a container for dye. It's the wood dye I used for the slingshots, but I'm just using that to contain some accelerant. Now, there were a couple of ideas that I thought of, but I couldn't actually get to work in time for this video. That's why I've got 2 empty shotgun shells. The first one was going to be a water filter, hence why I took out the primer. I put a bit of cheesecloth in the bottom and then filled it full of charcoal. And I was going to put cheesecloth at the top, and so we could pour water through and have a very basic water filter. Unfortunately, once I put the charcoal in, it didn't filter water anymore. And the other idea I had was I was going to try and make one of these into a pocket shot. So one of those small slingshots that we could use for a small balloon, pull back, and possibly use as a last ditch option for hunting or just recreational use. And then the only other silly option I could come up with, well, I had one of these with the primer removed. If I had 2 lenses lying around, then I could also make a very, very tiny telescope. So there we go. A really easy and fun way of carrying additional survival tools on us on our wearable shotgun shell survival kit. If you liked this video, please consider liking it on YouTube, let us know I'm doing a good job. If you really, really liked it, consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to click that bell icon so you know when my next video is live. If you want to see what I'm doing between videos and chat to other 5 Mistakes followers, I'm active on all sorts of social media. I'm active on Facebook, we've got a page called 5 Mistakes. I'm active on Twitter, as @ZoeSurvival. I'm active on Instagram as 5 Mistakes. And I've also set up a subreddit over on Reddit as what else? 5 Mistakes. So if you want your 5 Mistakes fix in between my video content, want to talk to me, want to talk to other followers, want to share what you've done with your wearable shotgun shell survival kit, consider joining us on social media. And as ever, other than the outtakes, there's only ever one way I can end a video. That's for me to say to you, get out there and do the impossible every day. So actually, as you can see about the insects, there is actually a mosquito on the back of my hand sucking my blood as I'm talking to you. Shoo. Now I'm just going to be using one of these adhesive glow sticks. I'm going to be securing it with one of these glue sticks. I'm going to secure it with one of these glue sticks. Glue sticks. We're going to be using one of these glow sticks. Glue sticks. It's glue. It's adhesive. Bloody hell. Our nano paracord. I took another mosquito. I thought I was done with these things now.